If you're an entrepreneur and have you ever felt like your business is controlling you instead of the other way around, well, you're not alone. What you may be experiencing is what we call in EOS hitting the ceiling. And that's that feeling of feeling stuck, like you're working harder, but you're not getting the traction that you want. You feel these common frustrations like lack of control, lack of profit, people frustrations, and that exhausting feeling that nothing's working to help you through it. But here's the good news. This is completely normal. Doesn't sound like great news, does it? Unfortunately, growth creates complexity, and you just need a way, a system to effectively manage that complexity so that you can turn normal into exceptional. And that's why in EOS, the very first thing that we teach is the 5 leadership abilities. Because if you want to build a great business that breaks through ceilings, then you need to get stronger at these specific 5 leadership abilities: simplify, delegate, predict, systemize, and structure. EOS gives you the tools to strengthen all 5 of these leadership abilities so that you can break through the ceilings instead of spinning your wheels. In this video, I'm going to walk you through each of these 5 leadership abilities, why they matter so much, and how to use them when you feel stuck or when the same issues keep showing up again and again. So first, let's take it all the way back to when we hit that ceiling in an organization. When your organization grows, it never grows in a straight line. At some point, you hit a ceiling. And hitting a ceiling is that moment where growth starts to feel harder than it used to feel. You get stuck, you're frustrated, things feel more complex, more chaotic, and you feel like you have somehow just lost control in your business, or it's just starting to control you. But the thing is that this is a natural part of growth. And when they hit that ceiling, companies tend to do one of 3 things at that point. Either they break through and get to the next level, which we all want to do, right? They flatline, or they fail. And unfortunately, the majority of companies fall into the latter 2 categories. And that is exactly why we teach these 5 leadership abilities first, because EOS is not just giving you tools, it's strengthening your leadership team's ability to break through the natural ceilings that you will hit as a company, as an individual, or as a department. EOS explicitly teaches this concept first to create common language and show leaders how the EOS tools strengthen each of these 5 abilities. So if you're dealing with the classic entrepreneurial frustrations like lack of control, lack of profit, people problems, or feeling like nothing's working to help you through that, the 5 leadership abilities can help you to get to the root cause. So let's walk through them one at a time. The first leadership ability is simplify. So as your business grows, complexity grows with it. You have more people, more communication lines, more decisions, more exceptions, more moving parts. And every time you add one level of complexity, it exponentially increases in complexity. And unchecked, that complexity turns into chaos. And a lot of leaders make the mistake of adding more when things feel chaotic. More processes, more people, more positions, more meetings, more emails, more reports, more. And all of that more is rarely better in business. And when has everyone said that extra meeting that we had this week surely did make things better? No, truly, usually the answer is less. In EOS, we teach that less is more, and we encourage leaders to focus not on the 23 important things, but usually the 3 to 7 most important things, because that narrows the focus. EOS and all of its tools are built to simplify all of the moving parts of your business. And that's why we start there, because simplifying your business starts to break it free from feeling stuck. So when you're feeling stuck, start with a simple question. Are we overcomplicating this? What would this look like if it were simple? And then turn to the EOS tools to help. The second leadership ability is delegate. Now, we all know we need to delegate, but a lot of times leadership teams do so as a reaction. They know they're doing too much, so they try to hire their way out of their problems. But what often happens when they do that is that they break the first leadership ability and they overcomplicate their business by not being intentional about their delegation. They end up creating more work for everyone and probably do double the work in the process. So the goal here isn't just to delegate, to give things off, to hand off tasks. The goal is to delegate and elevate. And what that means is delegating out the roles and tasks that are not in your zone of genius and elevate yourself to your true zone of genius. And in doing so, you will elevate others to their zone of genius as well. Why is this the goal? Because when everyone is doing what they love to do and what they're great at, value in the business is compounded. Everyone gets clarity on their roles and you remove unnecessary bottlenecks. So we strengthen this leadership ability of delegation with tools in the people component, making sure that you have the right people in the right seats, having a clear accountability chart that outlines all of the key functions in the organization and the 5 to 7 specific roles that each function is accountable for. Then putting the right people in those seats. So EOS is very clear here. You can only truly delegate when the people receiving the work share your core values and they GWC those seats. They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it well. If you do not have all of that, you don't have a delegation solution yet. What you have is a people issue. So first, identify your people issues on the accountability chart, even if it's you, especially if it's you. Then go about prioritizing and solving those people issues one at a time. So even though that sounds simple, this is where many entrepreneurs and business leaders get stuck. Not because they don't know this inherently, but really because they're unwilling to solve it. They know they need help. They may even try to hand things off, but the handoff may go poorly, or they may take it back after it doesn't go that well. And so then the cycle continues. And that's why we teach leaders to let go of the vine, because it captures really how scary delegation feels. But if you never let go, then the company really can't grow. You have to hand off those tasks intentionally. So when the same people issues keep recurring, ask yourself, is this showing up because I'm holding on to something that I should have delegated? Or because I delegated it to someone who is not actually the right person in the right seat? Moving on to the third leadership ability. The third leadership ability is to predict. In EOS, we teach that great leadership teams predict on two levels, the long term and the short term. Long-term predicting means seeing 90 days out and beyond. It means getting out of the weeds, climbing up the tree, and making sure that the road that you're cutting through the jungle is actually headed in the right direction. In EOS, this is encompassed by many of the items that are on the vision page of the Vision Traction Organizer. It's your core target, your 3-year picture, your marketing strategy, even your 1-year plan that's on the traction page. Those goals that you're setting and that vision that you have for the future are your predictions for the long term. And they're putting you on the same path. And the better that you can align your leadership team around that vision, the more likely you are that you're going to achieve it. That is long-term predicting. Short-term predicting is about what's happening within the 90-day world between your quarterly sessions. This includes your rocks that are your most important priorities over the next 90 days. And making sure that every week you are solving the most important issues for the long-term greater good of your organization. Now, most organizations react to issues and put duct tape and twine around them to keep them up. And those issues, of course, keep popping up and never get solved. But solving them permanently, that's a skill that moves the needle the most in your organization. Because here's the actual truth. Every single organization on the planet has issues, but really great companies, they have a system for solving their most important issues permanently so that every week, every month, every year, they're solving an elevated set of issues, knowing that issues can be their greatest opportunities. So this is exactly why in EOS we teach Identify, Discuss, and Solve, IDS, which is the issues solving track. And this helps teams to really resolve issues permanently instead of repeatedly seeing those issues pop up over and over again. Now, this leadership ability is huge for entrepreneurs who feel like nothing's working. And that idea that nothing's working is really rooted in a lack of clarity and a lack of decisiveness. Because when things aren't clear and leadership teams are not decisive, they keep getting surprised. They keep getting into this reactive cycle instead of proactive cycle. They keep solving the same issue over and over again, or they don't have clear priorities, and their issues list keeps stacking up faster than they can solve them. And that is a predict problem. So when you feel stuck, ask yourself, are we failing to predict on the short or the long term? Do we lack clarity about where we're going over the next 90 days or 10 years? Or are we just not solving issues permanently for the greater good of the organization? Those questions will usually show you exactly where you need to look on the predict spectrum. So the fourth leadership ability is to systemize. And systemizing is all about the process component of EOS and systemizing the predictable so that you can humanize the exceptional. And if you have the right people in the right seats, you want to have them be more human. You don't want to bog them down in overcomplicated processes. So in EOS, we teach that you should find the handful of truly core processes that really capture your most important repeatable activities. You want to document them, you want to simplify them, and get them followed by all, meaning everyone is trained, measured, and managed to do things the right way every single time. And you could do that with the right kind of scorecard, which gets into the data component. So to keep things simple, we take a 20-80 approach to documenting your core processes. Document the 20% of the steps that get you 80% of the results. That simplifies things. And that way you have just a few pages for each process and not a 700-page SOP manual that is never complete and nobody ever reads. This is a key driver of profitability, consistency, and scalability, because when you are doing things the right way and the best way every single time, and your people are able to be more human in the way that they best know how, you accelerate growth. You make things more fun. So if you're feeling like lack of profit or the same kind of operational issues keep showing up, ask yourself, do we actually have the right core processes? Are they documented? Are they simplified? And are they being followed by all? Are we measuring and managing people on them? Because if the answer is no on that, then your business is probably depending on people to remember what the process is in their heads when it should be made obvious in a very simplified core process. Now, the fifth and final leadership ability is structure. And the tool that we use to get to the right structure for the organization is the accountability chart. And this is where we ask leaders to step back from their organization and see the business as a system and a workflow, because you really cannot be a part of a system and at the same time really fully understand that system. That's why leaders need to rise above the organization and forget about all of the people, the personalities, and the egos for just a moment to determine the right structure for the next level of the organization. And the accountability chart, if you're able to let go of all of the people, the positions, and all that kind of stuff, if you're able to let go of all that, the accountability chart helps to clarify roles, identify seats, and define who is accountable for what. And this is one of the most powerful answers to the people frustrations and lack of control in the business. Because sometimes what feels like a people problem is actually a structure problem. The seat might be unclear, the roles might not be well defined, and multiple people might think that they own the same thing, or nobody really even owns that seat at all. And when accountability is fuzzy, frustration is almost guaranteed. That's why the accountability chart is so important. And it's not an organization chart. That's a common misconception. It's more like what I would like to describe as a flow chart, where roles and functions flow together with clarity and accountability. So when you're stuck, ask yourself this question: do we have the right structure for the organization? Is there a clear seat for this? Is one person truly accountable to these roles? Do we have the right person in that seat? Because structure creates clarity, and clarity creates accountability, and accountability creates traction. So let me talk really quickly about why EOS teaches this tool first, these 5 leadership abilities first, and why it can often be a trap for a lot of leadership teams. First, the reason we teach this first is because before we get into all of the tools that we're going to teach in detail, we first need to understand why you're stuck and how you'll get unstuck with these abilities. EOS teaches this first to create context and common language and normalize that hitting the ceiling is inevitable, and to show that the EOS process is designed to strengthen these exact abilities. In other words, EOS as a process and a system is not random. All of these tools are working together in the right order to help you simplify complexity, delegate effectively, predict better, systemize what matters, and structure the business for the next level. That's how you move from mediocre to great. When you strengthen these abilities, it truly sets you free. And that gets me to the trap that a lot of leadership teams fall into. A lot of times when I teach the leadership abilities and why I think they're so important is because foundationally, they help you to understand how EOS is helping you to improve and become a great company and a great leadership team. But especially on focus day, on day one, a lot of times leadership teams don't know what to expect with the EOS process. And they learn this thing and then it immediately goes in one ear and out the other. And so they forget these 5 leadership abilities by the time we reach our second full day together in vision building day one. And then I teach it again to make sure that they understand it. I tell them how important it is that they remember this so that they bring it into their level 10 meetings to help them to solve issues better and faster. And they forget about it again. And many quarters down the line, they fall into this trap of thinking that this is just kind of that context that they don't necessarily need. And so they let themselves forget about it. But what I want to offer is that this is probably the most important piece of information that you learn to start with so that you have the right context for EOS, why you're using these tools and why you're strengthening them, so that you can keep coming back to these leadership abilities over and over and over again and asking the right questions around that so that you can solve those issues more effectively. So internalize these leadership abilities, memorize them, understand why they're so important. And when you and your leadership team feel stuck, ask questions around those 5 leadership abilities. Is this a simplify issue? Is it a delegate issue? Is it a predict issue? Is it a systemize issue or is it a structure issue? Those 5 questions or some variation of those will help you to diagnose a huge percentage of recurring pain in your business. So if your business feels harder than it should be right now, take heart, because hitting the ceiling is not proof that you're failing. It's actually proof that growth is asking a different question of your leadership team. And the good news is that the leadership abilities can be strengthened. That's what EOS is built to do. And when those 5 leadership abilities get stronger, the common frustrations start to lose their grip and you get more control. You find yourself more profitable. You have better people alignment. And you have a business that starts finally working the way that it should. So if you're interested in starting the process and learning more about how EOS can help you to strengthen your business, I'd love to have a conversation about that. So reach out to me for a free 90-minute EOS session where I will walk you through the tools and the process. I look forward to hearing from you soon.